Right, so today what we're doing is we're talking about databases, and today's recording is all about the DBMS. Now DBMS stands for Database Management System. Now this is a new term for most people, because you think, well, a database is a database, so what do I need a management system for it? Well, a database management system is a different way of looking at how a database works. At the moment, we're used to just opening up Microsoft Access and it just goes, or it just works, and we can do all the things we want in Access. Access is actually a database management system. It's just a very small one, or a very simple one. Now, database management systems are used to organize the data into a form that you can understand. Okay, because if you tried to look at data, you would just have lines and lines and lines and lines and lines of just data, and your brain just couldn't handle all that information. So what we can do is we use a DBMS to split them apart. Now, how it usually works is this. This is my drawing. Okay, this is my database. There you go. There's my, and I'm going to call that DB. This is my database, and if you think about it as a storage, as a place of storage, in the middle we have a DBMS. Now, what the DBMS's job is to communicate between the database and the DBMS and display it to the user. There you go, and there's my happy smiley face user, in a way that we can understand. Okay, because if we were just trying to read data, it would be too difficult. So that's what the job is. The other thing is if you get really complicated databases, you can separate this from this, which then means we've got a lot more control, which is really good. Now, the database management system presents views of data, and those views of data can be anything. They can be, again, we're looking at queries, tables, and reports. And these different views of that information allows the work to be done. Now, the other thing, okay, is when we've got a DBMS, it means we don't have to code, which is great, because I like that, because let's face it, if you had to know how to code to do all your databases, then you would really, really struggle. But using something like Access, where we just click a button and it does it, it's great. So we like that, okay? So all the stuff that we do in Access is part of a DBMS. When we are just interrogating a database, you have to use a language, and the language is called SQL, which is otherwise known as Structured Query Language. You don't really need to know that, but it's just so you know that obviously when you have to set up a database, if you are just doing it without a DBMS, you have to actually type all the commands in yourself, and it's really difficult to understand. Of course, the problem with that is that if you are just a normal person, not an IT professional, you wouldn't be able to understand it. Okay? The easiest way to understand databases is to think about your friend of mine, Access. Now, Microsoft Access allows us to control and manipulate the data. And it's really, really simple. If I wanted to but the problem is if I wanted to do anything more complicated, Access wouldn't allow me to do it. Then you would need to look at something that's much more sophisticated. one of the more sophisticated ones is known as Oracle. And Facebook tends to work on an Oracle database. It's not quite the same, but it does. Now, the way I explain this to people is if Oracle is my DBMS and Facebook works on Oracle, if you can imagine that the Facebook DB database is miles on miles of computers. It's hundreds of computers because we have to store data on 800 million people. So if you can imagine, all I've got is row on row of server, rack-mounted servers, okay, or loads and loads of servers all together. And once we've got all these servers together in a big old line, the DBMS's job is to ask questions of all these servers and pull out the information that we need from all these machines, all in a massive line, and put them all together in a view that my happy smiley user can understand. Okay, there you go, there's my little man. Now, if he gets the data that he wants and it's easy to understand, then he can interrogate it. What you find with most IT professionals is they know how to do one thing and they know how to do it very, very well. So you'll have a database programmer and you will have a normal programmer. A normal programmer will not know necessarily how to program a DBMS. So they want the data nice and simple. Okay, right. The last thing I want to do is just show you a DBMS in action. So what I've got is we've got access, and if ever you want to know what a DBMS can do, all you do is you click on all access objects, and as you can see, we've got all a list of all the things that a DBMS should be able to do. The DBMS also manages users, so it manages who's accessing the data at any given time. Hopefully that explains DBMSs a little bit more. I hope that helps.